And frankly, even in America, in this day, there are people who are being trafficked and effectively, function as slaves. It's incredible, but we don't hear much about that.
No, it's all about their own political agenda. That's what just so bitter about, especially American media, is that whatever, when I was willing to criticize Trump, that is the only time New York Times wanted me to come up to criticize Trump for meeting Kim Jong-un without preconcessions. And whenever I try to talk about my people, how the girls in China being trafficked, how my people are suffering under this regime, they don't care about that parts. They just want to find a narrative that fits their agenda. And till this day, if New York Times calls me and asks me my opinion about the woke culture in this country, I want to go on there. I don't discriminate them, but they don't care. And then, of course, they keep saying, why are you getting on Fox and to become the, propaganda puppet for this right-wing, conservative, bigot, Nazi people. So I never knew that in America, this thing, I just never knew this. It's so idiotic. What a waste of time. Why are you doing this to each other? I don't get it.
You and me both. And I honestly sit up at night sometimes thinking about that, because it does feel like a kind of a self-destruction, doesn't it?
Exactly. What do they gain by just people penalizing them? Why did you get on Fox? How does that anybody gain anything from that? It's just a culture of denouncing. That is such a North Korea thing. We always have to keep denouncing our enemies. If there's any sign of infiltration of our enemies, we gotta keep denouncing, and report on each other. And it seems in America, they've gone so far, all you see is people just denouncing and pointing fingers at each other without recognizing each other's humanity. And this is the thing, I spoke at TED 2 years ago. You are in the room of these movers and shakers, the technology, all these companies are there. And then I told them I have a event in Texas, and they were like, what do you mean you're going to Texas? That's a Trump country. I made a decision that I will never set a foot on those Trump countries. And I was like, do you know that's America? That's the same country, right? These are most highly educated and powerful people in the world are doing this nonsense. And I think this is how any country goes down to the, it's a gutter. That's how you destroy your own country, by doing that. When you stop appreciating diversity of thoughts. And that's where we are gonna all become like North Korea, where there's only one idea that's allowed to be accepted.
So you think America, it's actually conceivable that America could become like a North Korea?
Totally. When was it conceivable? Did you expect to be banned or demonetized and censored by YouTube 10 years ago?
Actually, didn't remotely occur to me that that could be possible.
Me neither. Until I started my YouTube channel last year. And then people talk about censorship. I was like, what the heck is that? They're just exaggerating. I thought, how can that be possible? Why would they do that? And then I also making all these videos about women suffering in China. And then that was a time of Me Too. So I complained to Google, don't you guys not supporting Me Too? I'm talking about the women's suffering in China under communist regime.
So they censored those videos?
Absolutely, they do. And then, of course, there was a video that I made about what I think about the Second Amendment. Of course, those videos all get censored.
What do you think about the Second Amendment?
I, of course, support it. I don't think there has been bigger threat than government has been to the individuals. Stalin killed his own people, right? Mao killed his own people. Look at Kim Jong-un. In a way, the government are the most dangerous thing that we can have as individuals. That's the number one thing that we need to watch out. Because they can do so many horrible things to you and your family. And think about it right now, this time in Hong Kong, the 75% of people went on street, demanded not to be part of mainland, right? Two system, one country. And then because none of them had a self-defense, they just took over like that. And even the majority wanted that. And think about North Korea, even just 30-40% of the population had guns. They would assassinate leaders. They would assassinate Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un couldn't just do that to the people. So it is, I mean, ultimately you can say that why just Kim Jong-un go kill them all? But then weapons gonna leak, gonna go to different people. They're gonna do way more harm to the regime when they try to take over control, like completely, right? You cannot kill all your people. Then who do you rule over eventually? Nobody left there. So in a way, it's even though your government has nukes, that's what people saying, okay, Kim Jong got nukes, and then these people have guns, not gonna make a difference. No, if Kim Jong nukes their home people, he's gonna die too. That's the last dumbest dictator gonna ever do, nuking their own people, and then while he's himself being there, he cannot use a nukes against his own people. So it's so effective way of deterring the rise of dictatorship in your country when the individuals have a right to defend your rights and freedom. And seeing that in America, how the most valuable about the Second Amendment is so lost. And it's like freedom is messy. It's not like simple. Being free is a hard thing, right? It comes with a lot of responsibility. And in America, I think people just really forgot it.
You know, you still believe, and I know we share this belief, that America is kind of the bulwark against the Chinese regime, which is certainly the most powerful regime out there at the moment. And you're saying things aren't looking very good for America.
Yeah, I think if America going this direction of not valuing freedom, right, how fragile freedom is. It's like North Korea wasn't like this, right? Like until the Communist Revolution happened, we were not this like oppressed. And Venezuela, I mean, like look at how many countries, Cuba, Venezuela is so well before, and I think it's that's the sad thing about democracy. It seems like it's possible for people to elect dictator.
Right, Nazi Germany.
Exactly. I mean, Hitler was voted by his own people. He was loved in the beginning, and that's the thing. It's like it's ultimately is up to individuals to decide and learn about the history of like humankind, the history of like freedom and oppression, and then when we vote like responsibly. Otherwise, freedom can be lost so easily within us.
You know, we've been watching this, I guess you could say, flubbed exit from Afghanistan the last few days. You know, just as we're taping, it's in the process of that. A lot of what I'm hearing is people saying that, wow, I've lost a lot of faith in America through this. This is what I'm hearing in the dissident community. I'm hearing it from all sorts of people. What's your perspective?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I gotta be really honest. I mean, Trump talked about that, right? He initially wanted to take off out of Afghanistan, and then of course Biden did follow up with the plan. That's why he was saying like yesterday on the live. It's like that's what I did, following up with the previous plan. I mean, all it needed was like 2,500 soldiers in there, putting the American flag, right? Like, it wasn't even not that many people were left in Afghanistan. It wasn't even, and they were like, we were spending so much money over the last 20 years, keeping that region safe. And the thing is, like when the Kyrgyzstan, when they left this Yazidi people, they were genocide. These girls were being sold as slaves to ISIS members. All the men get killed. I mean, this was like only 2015-16. 5-6 years ago, we saw what happens when these soldiers leave these people behind. And that's the thing, like, it's just such a, politics are so complicated and people always becoming this partisan thing, right? Because now Biden did it, you are the only bad thing. I don't know if Trump was in the office, he would have left them or not. But ultimately, Biden left them. And that's why blaming him at this point is that there should be some kind of responsible country in the world that it is somebody's job to fight for justice. It doesn't have to be America, and America did play that role, right? Because this country was founded upon ideas of liberty and human dignity, and that's why America did play the world police role. And seeing that now as America's like, okay, even us are struggling within the country, right? Like I met so many struggling American families in the Middle East, I mean Detroit, like all those regions. They said like, we just cannot afford that anymore. Like we are struggling. So I am compassionate to those people, like why they were saying America first. And they're like you know, they like, we really need to be taken care of at this point. We are struggling too. And in a way, it's such a complicated time. And,
Sure.
but the thing is, what happened to Afghanistan is like so horrible that it should not happen like that way. It was so unbelievable. I mean, these people gonna die. So many of them gonna die for sure.
I guess what I'm asking is, you know, if America is supposed to be this bulwark
Yeah.
against communist China doing what it's doing in the world, like, you know, North Korea being a premier example, right? I'm thinking to myself, you know, has that equation changed at all in the last few days in your mind?
I think yes or no. I think that ultimately it's gonna come to that. Are we gonna, as a humanity, deciding to be the slaves to the states, or are we gonna still fight to be free as individuals? That is because the biggest two powers are rising in the world right now. That is America still somehow defending for individual liberty, and China, no, it's okay. Government can do better job for the bigger good of the people. So it's okay to be in a big government who is kind of maybe efficient enough to get the economy up and giving people like what they need, lifting them from the poverty, right? That's at least what China keeps saying, that there's like a plural system, states can exist. But the thing is, I think it should be some kind of coalition in the West, the countries that believe in democracy and freedom. It cannot be America alone fighting for this individual liberty at this point. Well, even in South Korea right now, so many countries, even in the Western European countries, are ready to give up freedom, and then like getting a big government to supposedly taking care of them. So I don't think it should be something global coalition. That's what I see. I don't think America single-handedly can win this battle for sure, and we need allies. And those allies like Japan, Taiwan, like, you know, South Korea, like in the Western European, a lot of countries still having those values. So it's I think America should be faithful to their allies. She cannot just abandon Afghanistan like that. And still gotta show that you stand for justice, right? It's not just some of efficiency or like cost and what is good for Americans only, but like what is for the entire humanity. Are you doing the good thing, right thing from God? You know, I think it's sad that as we progress as a modernization that we are losing God. However you define God, I think God did play a significant role in us, keeping us, you know, being moral, being conscious, being kind, being compassionate, and be strong. And I see that in America we are losing that. So it's just that was the hardest thing after North Korea, right? How much do I want to adapt? How much do I want to take in from American culture? How much do I want to let go of my past? And then there are certain parts I do not want to let go. There are parts that from North Korea I want to still keep. And there are some parts of America that I really love. I want to like adjust and change. But not all of that being America was good to me. And I was able to develop that perspective and decided what was right for me. And I'm still doing that process every single day.
I mean, it's quite the process. I mean, I think you've even told me that, you know, I think in the book you say that, you know, when you were with these missionaries in China, you were ready, you're going to believe whatever was needed, and you were going to believe it very deeply, because that was going to get you out. It was an extremely pragmatic thing. Has any faith developed? You were just talking about God. That's interesting, but I don't understand you to be a part of any religion. So that's what is that evolution like here?
So after, I mean, you read the book, those missionaries told me that I was guilty, I was dirty, because the things that I had to do to survive in China. I was shocked, right? It was not my choice. All I did was trying to survive. So of course it did not leave me a good impression from Christianity. It made me feel like they are so dogmatic, are so not like understanding, not tolerant enough for me. And then later I was understanding that they were actually the most selfless people I've ever met. They were in the middle of China, risking their lives to rescue North Koreans that nobody knew existed, with their own life. And so you gotta sometimes see their actions, not what they do or what they say, right? And also, like last year after I had my son, of course you see the giving a birth is a miracle. Like how otherwise do you explain that? And I definitely saw the role that God can play. And they say even science only understood of 20% of the things that we understand now. Like we still don't even know if for sure God made us or not, right? There's so much unknown. And I read a lot about Buddhism last year. And like what you said, like, you know, some parts of religion actually is not dogmatic and free you. And one of the Buddhism, the idea is like there's no self, then there's no pain, no suffering. All about the ego and the self, that's what creates suffering. And some parts of it was definitely liberating. So I think you don't have to be dogmatic. Like, you know, some extreme, you know, the religion is so bad. But I think pursuing the high moral, higher power can be a comforting thing. So it's not like now my idea is like becoming like, back then I was like, I'm an atheist. I oppose every kind of dogma, right? But now I do support those religion that opens people's minds and hearts.
How old are you again?
I'm 27.
No, you seem to have lived many lifetimes already. I want to ask one, I guess, a bit difficult thing. You know, as we're kind of finishing up, there was a cost to you leaving North Korea, and you knew that, you know, your family could be. I don't know what the situation is with your remaining family exactly.
Yeah.
But what was the cost of that ultimately? And I guess I have to ask, you know, do you feel it was worth it?
So back then when I was leaving, as I said, there were like almost 300,000 North Koreans left. So during the Kim Jong-il time, the second Kim, that's when I left. I mean, like millions of died, like 3 to 4 million died in the one part, so like northern part where I lived. So even when you go to China, North Korea would not know that you went to China because you could just have dead on the street from the starvation. So it was so easy to hide where you went to. So that's what we did. But when I spoke out, that was the biggest miscalculation that I made. So even after I escaped and went to South Korea, I still kept in touch with my family due to the brokers that I had. And they were fine. But when I spoke out, I was thinking they're all like high-profile defectors who are like the diplomat to the North Korean escaped, right? And I was thinking like, how can be a regime threatened by a 13-year-old girl? Like testifying what every North Korean said. It's like there's a starvation, there's oppression, right? I was not like revealing their nuclear program to the world at all. So I was thinking, I just didn't think I would be a threatening thing for the regime. And when I spoke out, that is when my family got all punished from my both sides, mom, dad side. And that's the thing, like that's when I was truly understanding the price of freedom. Like I knew that I was risking my own life. I'm still on the death like target list by Kim Jong-un, and of course South Korean intelligence informed me that many years ago. But I just didn't think the regime would go that far for my testimony. But it is a thing, like I also got comfortable being out of the world and then forgetting what the true evil looked like. This is what I was saying, like the Americans' inability to recognize true evil, which is China. The people's like inability, because never seen the darkness truly, right? These people live in such a light, in a so much good environment. They don't know how something can be that terrible. And I think for me too, like I saw it, like this is unbelievably cruel regime. And then after I go to South Korea, like why would they just go after some 13-year-old testimony? And there was a lot of North Korean defectors who were speaking out in South Korean TV shows, and nothing happened to them. And yeah, that's where I completely miscalculated.
Before we finish up, tell me quickly, where can people watch your YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, they can go to Voice of North Korea by Yeonmi Park, and they can find me Yeonmi Park NK on Twitter and Instagram. Not on TikTok, so I'm on Facebook. Yeah, all the social media you can think of.
And you also have this local site, I believe, right?
It's been amazing to support these like platforms that is like valuing freedom of speech. So yeah, I've been trying our locals and it's been fantastic.
So, any final last words before we finish?
I mean, thank you for everything that you do. It's so amazing to meet people like you. Yeah, so refreshing.
That's so kind, and it's likewise incredibly amazing to meet someone like you. It's such a pleasure to have you on American Thought Leaders.
Thank you.